Hi there. I am here
Um,
with the indomitable Amanda Lyberg of the film My Rockstar. Thank you so much for joining us today, Amanda.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
This was an excellent film. I'm really excited to talk to you. It was
Oh,
such
thank
an
you.
impactful look at how, we can be on top of the world, but our roots, our family, those connections can still really have us tethered, and how addiction weaves its way in there and kind of choke those roots. Now,
Yeah,
you
it was a pretty wild time and a pretty wild role, and I feel like I almost feel like I cheated because I've lived it. So everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, you're acting," and I'm like, I just pulled on what I what I went through, But I feel like it was a pretty powerful story for a little like 13-minute thing.
Yeah. So you said that this is a personal experience. Can
Yes.
be really cathartic, in processing this grief and loss. And the film explored that so brilliantly. So, what personal experiences were you linking into in order to bring this to life?
So it's funny that you say that because I think one of the biggest things that we missed while we were like zoomed in on trying to get this story to bring it to life and to film it was that we never put in there based on a true story. This is almost the exact story of my father and I, and
Mhm.
how I came into music. So I'm also my band name is Eva Under Fire. And that music is still what we're doing, what we're releasing. I mentioned to you, I'm mostly on tour. And so that process is something that my great friend Stephanie, as she's in directing school, she's a filmmaker. We know each other through also being psychologists. And she was very inspired by my story. She herself has gone through a great loss of her brother from addiction. And so it was my father, it was her brother, it was another friend of ours who was also a therapist who worked at the practice. She went through some things. I mean, we're talking about brothers, siblings, parents, loved ones, partners, married couples that go through this. And
Yeah.
it's bizarre how much we're from Southeast Michigan,
Okay.
and the Detroit area is so heavily affected. So all of our story sharing is kind of what brought this on. So this movie was basically my life.
That makes it even more powerful. And I had a feeling that there must have been something that tethered you very closely to the story, because one of those final moments when you're on stage looking at the audience, it felt too raw and too real. Obviously, you're a great actress, but you can usually tell there is something that somebody's tapping into that just completely opens them up. So,
You know what's wild? You mentioned that moment on the stage. Are you talking about there was a super tearful moment, like I'm like sobbing at the end of it.
that's the
Okay.
one that made me
We
have a
we
similar reaction.
we kept that in there, and I have to tell you, my husband, who was on stage with me, he's actually in the band with me. He is in fact guitarist, and I am in fact the lead singer of Eva Under Fire. And that day we were filming, and we got the phone call. We had to delay the performance, that his cousin had died of an overdose that day. So that moment was real. And during the time that we were filming this movie about addiction awareness, we lost someone while filming.
Oh my gosh, I have
Wild.
goosebumps. And that's why
Wild.
projects like this are important, because the stories need to continue to be told so
Yeah.
that these people have a chance. And what I really appreciated was, at the end of the film, you had the pictures and the names of people who have been lost to addiction. Were these people of the community, people that you and the filmmaker knew?
Yeah, so that was my dad and her brother and my husband's cousin and all of those names. I mean, you see Lyberg in there. That's my married-in name. That's all of our family members who were. I mean, it's been a devastating process, and this whole like very dramatic short film of like 13 minutes, like you get these glimpses into
Hmm.
the relationships and the bond that we have there, and why it was important. Um, and my dad did in fact introduce me to rock music, and like was was there during a time when I was trying to like with the sleazy bar owner part. That happened,
Oh, damn.
you know what I mean? Like these are things that like we we really, I mean, we drew on a lot from real life for this one. There's so many goals that Stephanie has, and I love her for making this film, and I love the response that we've been getting in the
Yeah.
film festival. It's just been incredible. We were recently out in Big Bear, California for a film fest, and I took home Best Actress, which was super fun.
As you should have.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, she's really behind this, and some of the people that were there were they were school teachers, and they said, this should be filmed in schools. This should be seen in schools.
I
These
was
kids
thinking
need
the
to
same thing.
know. Yeah, it was really. I mean, I really, we did not know what the response would be because it's really kind of heavy content. We were like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like half entertainment, but half like just, pulls on your heartstrings. And I'm like, well, there's movies that pull on heartstrings, right? Like we could see how the response is with people. But
What
yeah,
has the
that's been
response
our,
been?
um, I would say it's been pretty excellent so
Yeah.
far. Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely content that, yeah, currently people can really grasp onto. So thank you for sharing that. What
Yeah.
I'm wondering is with films and with content that is so close to the heart, how did you, I don't know if the word is protect yourself, or how did you keep yourself at peace with being so close to the work?
Sure. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because that was something Stephanie asked me as well and wanted to be very mindful about like whether or not I was going to be like re-traumatized by any of this.
Yeah.
Um, I think it helped me that I was doing something that I found important. And then I also was doing this alongside actors and actresses who did not look like the people from my world, my life. Right. Um, it was harder for me to keep it together on stage because my mother was actually in the audience.
Oh, wow.
And she was a very close part of this story as well. Um, and we filmed it Dylan did an excellent job playing younger version of me when we were like in the bedroom, the girls bedroom.
Yeah.
Actually, my niece's bedroom in my mom's home. So she and my stepdad were very, very supportive, and but thankfully I wasn't in any of those scenes because I was a blubbering mess the whole time. But I think it really helped me knowing that this is going to be this is going to be important. I think my story is important, and it's something that I've also explored a lot in my lyricism already. So
Yeah.
I felt like this wasn't the first time that I was sharing any of this, so that was helpful.
That is helpful. Wow, what right material for keeping you hyper present for the work to have your mom there, be in those environments. And you mentioned the younger actress, her name's Dylan, who's
Yeah,
playing the young
Dylan.
you. That was such a striking image in the film. I thought that was very powerful because in those moments you kind of got to see how a parent sees you even as an adult, you're still their little girl, but also I felt you could see yourself and we could see ourselves as this child. And when we haven't processed the trauma, we kind of carry around that childlike self, and we almost have to be the parent to heal them if our own parent
Yeah,
can't, in a way.
yeah.
I thought that was a really powerful image.
Yeah, there's a psychological work called internal family systems, and it deals with exactly that and trying to find all of the different parts of ourselves along the way, and at what points we can heal those parts through kind of identifying that we do carry those younger parts around. Um, and I think that was really cool that you picked up on that because it was done intentionally, and I think Dylan did an excellent job. She's a fantastic actress.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah, blown away.
she's been on like theater stages, and she's done commercial work, and she's got a lot like that. She's probably the pro actress that we that we got in this whole thing. She got a whole rap sheet of what she's done. So she did an excellent job. She was so fun to work with. Her and her mother were excellent to have on set. So
That's awesome. It's great to have such a talented team. I could tell the vision was so clear and cohesive for the piece, which really brought it to the next level. And for you, is this the first time you've done quote unquote an acting role? Obviously, you're a performer. I could tell this wasn't your first rock star rodeo. I was like, this girl is not performing. This is her life, especially with that voice. So was this
Oh,
your
thank you.
acting project?
Um, Not first acting project. No, I've been on a couple of different other projects. I did a B horror film for um, our label. They have a very new, I guess, interest in doing film, and they did something called the Retaliators, and so I got to be part of that. That one was like craziness because it was like COVID interrupted the whole process for that film.
Jo-
So we did like multiple different directors, and I was on set multiple different times, and there was like a change of hands. So thank you for showing and saying that My Rockstar had a much more cohesive role, because it was literally the dream team for a whole like couple days of filming. And the director and how the writer and director was Stephanie. So I think she had help from another wonderful person on set that was also like a co-director,
Nice.
um, because he had more experience. This was her first time directing a film.
That
Yeah,
blows me away.
yeah,
Okay.
amazing. I
A
mean,
savant. Great.
yeah, she's very, very talented and has a lot of vision. And she turned my whole parents, you know, house into a film set, like a legit film set. But that was because her director of photography, Nigel, is like amazingly talented young guy. I mean, he's been on several different major film sets,
Nice.
and just kind of took this on as a passion project and rolled with it. And it was incredible. I mean, he helped to correct some of the coloring. And, whenever we ran into a problem with, getting the shot that somebody, couldn't get, Nigel could get it. Yeah, it was amazing. So I was very much, this was a very different experience than the first time that I was in
Yeah.
film.
It sounds like
Um,
it.
and it felt very much like a for real, I don't, it felt like home, like you just got the right people together, and it was all
Magic,
very
isn't it?
cohesive because of that.
You come
Yeah.
together for a couple days, and it's interesting, especially with indie filmmaking, where it does feel like that magic. You're not quite sure before you
Mhm.
step in what's going to happen, but it's wonderful to hear that there's people from so many different disciplines that can share and offer, especially those with the content, share personal life experiences, and then those who have the technical experiences that can. That's the joys of filmmaking. That
Yeah,
it
it
all
was
life.
yeah, it was all like really, really I don't think that if we would not have had like the varied talents that were on set, that we could have done what we did in such a short time. I mean, because I've seen it with film festivals, many independent films, it's like one set, tell your story,
Yes.
couple actors, tell your story, right? This was an entire, and we had extras playing the audience members. We
Yeah.
had multi locations. We had SAG actors and actresses on set. So there was like, we need lunch breaks, and like there was somebody who was running that show. And it's like, this is like a legit, like wild film making process. So we packed a lot into that 13 minutes.
Yes, you sure did. And it was definitely worthwhile. I think maybe that legitimacy that's created too probably added, did that add extra pressure, or did that make you more driven to tell the story?
I think the person who could speak better to that question would certainly be Stephanie, because I know it stressed her out, because again, this is her first time directing this film, and she's
Yeah.
going into like, we've got like major light stands on top of the roof that were aimed into the window for the scene with the little girl and her and father in the bedroom, kind of thing, when she's like doing her little impromptu, um song and dance with her stuffies, and then we had like, all these different things. And so I think it was Stephanie was very overwhelmed at first,
Yeah.
but again, Dream Team stepped in and was like, "Ah, we got it. This is how it goes. Just hand in the paperwork. We'll be totally fine. You're an ethical director. Nothing's gonna go wrong."
Yeah.
So it was.
That's
I
good.
think it went as smoothly as it could for the first go round for a big undertaking like that.
When did you film this?
This was filmed, I think, last September,
Okay.
last August, last year.
And
summer, late summer.
what was your reaction when you first saw it?
I almost hit the pavement. I rolled up to my mom's house. I got out of my car and I see this entire, she's got like a film crew at my mom's house. I mean, trucks and trellis things and huge lights and director and people who were like, this guy, his name was Andrew Katz. He was like running the whole day-to-day show. He was excellent to work with, but clearly a professional who had been on sets before. Hey, there's our star. How's it going? I was like treated as the star performer at my mom's house. I was like, you guys are so extra and I love you for it, but this is hilarious. I'm like, this is for real how you operate, huh? He was like, yeah, sure is.
Good for
We
the old
got like,
ego sometimes.
yeah, yeah, they did like a whole like a staging room where we could all get ready and like do, different, they had makeup and like catering that was, for like everybody that was there in the morning that set up everything. There was like bagels and Einsteins and whatever. And I was like, you guys have this all, like, this is like a set location. This is my mom's house.
It's just my mom's house. That's so funny. And stepping back home, I always get this wave of, I don't know, feeling like I'm back in my childhood. So this really was the full circle journey for you from going from, the dreams to having this dream come to fruition. And you are the star.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it
that's
was it
kind of
was a pretty
cool.
wild ride. Pretty wild ride. Yeah. So I'll clarify, this wasn't necessarily the house that I grew up in. It's the house that my mom is now living in.
Yes.
But it
Okay.
was like, interesting to see how, this house over the last 4 years that she's built with my stepfather and like now we're, uh we have family dinners is now transformed into this giant film set and very representative of my childhood home and just
Yeah.
little things that like the young woman who was responsible for setting up all of the props and different things and like staging the rooms, she did a great job. I mean, it was already like pink walls and everything because it's my niece's room, but she
Oh,
was,
excellent.
she made sure how to like set up the little pictures of music things in the background and like hand done stuff that would have been in a kid's room. She was
It did
that's
feel very real, very lived in. That's what I liked about actually all of the locations. It felt like we really were at a rock concert. We were backstage those moments before in the room before you hop on. We were in a childhood room. And I think, yeah, there's something just very authentic permeating the piece. And I think that's what you all tapped in with that intentionality behind making it.
great. Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying so because that truly was, where Stephanie and I were talking about, okay, where can we do all of this? And I was like, all
Yeah.
right, little girl's bedroom is definitely my mom's house. And
Yeah.
then the sleazy bar owner, shout out to Road Rangers because that's the pub down the street that we really did play at when we first got started.
That
And
rock.
they do still have local shows there. And their owner actually, and I didn't know this until we got there the day of filming, his son struggled with addiction. And so he was very interested in helping this film to come to light. And we made sure to tell him, we're not painting Road Ragers in a bad light. This is about the guy. The guy that's there was, the actor that was performing was the bad guy, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then the show that you witnessed in the end of the film there, the big party, the big professional show, that
Yeah.
was District 142, and that is in fact our hometown venue. That is our big come up. It's got a capacity of 800 people. It's almost sold out, and we are going to do a performance there on the 13th of September. So,
That
and we were really performing that day there at that show last year. So this is 1 year from around that time. We do a show there annually and throw a big hometown show bash. So
that's awesome. Yeah, there's a real intentionality behind it. And I'm wondering, does the psychological background help you or help with the planning of the film and maybe how you were going to parse through some of the themes?
yeah, I'm sure that was it wasn't something that I thought through actively
Yeah.
while filming, but I definitely think that having that background is a huge asset to being in an acting role, being in a creative space,
Yeah.
even with writing lyrics and things like that about, for our albums in the band. I know it's been a help to me. And I don't know which is which. I think it's the chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
Like if being a very emotionally aware brain has helped me lean into my creative side, or if my creative side helps me to lean into my emotionally aware brain. Um,
Yeah.
I think it all kind of goes hand in hand. And I know that's true for Stephanie as well. She's also like a guitar player and like loves rock music and is also a psychologist. And so she's also a creative. She was graphic design for a bit. So I think there's just some kind of alignment with like
Yeah.
talk
Feeding
therapy
into
and
each
creative
other.
beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, they always say some of the most successful people are the most creative people, even in like the tech world, and that you have to have that, I don't know, symbiosis where they're informing one another. So
Yeah.
definitely came through in that, just artists through and through.
Yeah.
So in
Thank you.
terms of this project, what's next for the film? Is it going to be showing anywhere else?
So we're going to see how this shakes out with regard to the film festivals,
Yes.
and the goal after showing it. I mean, she's put it in. I think she's got like 60 submissions. She's like for real putting it through film festivals.
Good. It needs to be
And
there.
she's gathered lots of accolades as a result of that. There's been some of them that we've already come through as like best short film, best first time female director, best, so she's already done a lot of work with it. I think the goal that she has is funding for a feature.
Yes.
And that would probably be what's next. I hope one day we can kind of like toss it up on YouTube, the short film itself, and use it as a piece to a content piece of sorts, maybe to promote what we're doing as a feature, maybe to promote, like direct people over to, I don't know if she's going to do a Kickstarter. I think she's looking for an investor this time around.
Well,
Um, but yeah, we'll see what that yield looks like. But the goal is definitely a feature.
yeah, I think there's a lot of life for this piece and for her career and your career after this, obviously.
Thanks.
And
Thank you.
I just want to know, are there any projects you'd like to plug or creative endeavors out there in the world? Obviously, you're touring. You're going to be doing
Yeah,
pretty big shows. So
yeah,
what would you like to
yeah.
plug?
So hopefully, in the fall, we'll be back on the road. We've got new music coming out, so stay tuned to Eva Under Fire social media, Spotify, and all that good jazz. If you've never heard of our music, it's fine. You're coming in at a good time. You can learn all of album one, and then we'll hand you album two. I
Hey,
think
I
we
love
should
that.
have, yeah, I think we should have new stuff by like September, October. And for Michigan people come through, we'll be at District September 13th.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. It's been really lovely talking to you. Such an interesting person, artist
Thank
through and
you.
through. And
Yeah.
I'm I was really taken by this piece. So there was a lot I wanted to dig through with you, and you definitely
Wonderful.
didn't disappoint.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thanks for, like rock stars are typically late, right? To whatever everyone
And
else. Like,
yeah,
I have to
fashionably late.
sing.
You're golden.
So thank you so
We're
much.
so
I
happy
appreciate you having
to
me.
take some of your time. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll keep our eye out for your future projects. And I can't wait to rock out to your
Much love.
album after this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.